Tinyabu saw the opportunity and seized it. She expanded her plantations, employed hundreds of workers, and negotiated exclusive trade deals with British merchants. Unlike other traders who depended on European buyers, Tinyabu played by her own rules. She dictated prices and controlled supply, making her one of the most powerful figures in the palm oil trade. Her success made her even wealthier, but it also made her more enemies. The British, seeing her growing power, started looking for ways to weaken her influence. But Tinyabu was not afraid. She had fought before, and she would fight again. The British were expanding their influence in West Africa, and they wanted to control the trade routes. Tinyabu stood in their way. She resisted their attempts to impose unfair trade policies, refusing to let them dictate prices for her goods. She also opposed their growing interference in local politics, warning Yoruba leaders not to trust them. Her defiance angered the British authorities. They saw her as a threat to their dominance and began plotting against her. But Tinyabu was always prepared for battle. She was not just a businesswoman, she was a warrior at heart. And she would not go down without a fight. Tinyabu's resistance against the British made her a hero among her people. She became known as a fearless leader who stood up to foreign powers. She used her wealth to support warriors defending Yoruba land from colonial interference. She also funded rebellions against leaders who were too willing to submit to British control. Her name became legendary, and people looked up to her as a symbol of strength. But with great power came great danger. Her enemies were growing stronger, and soon she would have to make a choice: compromise or continue fighting. Tinyabu never compromised. Despite her fierce reputation, Tinyabu had a soft side. She believed in giving back to her people. She built markets, supported widows, and helped young traders start businesses. She understood that true power was not just about wealth, it was about influence. By uplifting others, she ensured that her legacy would live on long after she was gone. But her generosity did not make her weak. She was still a ruthless businesswoman who crushed anyone who tried to cheat her. She had built an empire with her own hands, and she was determined to protect it. By the peak of her career, Tinyabu controlled multiple industries: palm oil, firearms, textiles, and more. She was the undisputed queen of commerce in Yoruba land. She had proven that a woman could not only survive in a man's world but could dominate it. Her story was far from over. The challenges ahead would test her strength like never before. But Tinyabu had never been afraid of a challenge. By the mid-19th century, Madame EFUNROYE Tinyabu had amassed an extraordinary fortune. Her control over trade, especially palm oil, firearms, and tobacco, made her one of the richest individuals in Yoruba land. She owned vast farmlands, warehouses, and markets in Abeokuta, Lagos, and beyond. Unlike many traders who depended on European buyers, Tinyabu dictated the terms of her business. She had multiple streams of income, ensuring that her wealth was never tied to one trade alone. If one market declined, she had others flourishing. Her homes were grand, filled with luxurious items from across Africa and Europe. She wore the finest fabrics, adorned herself with gold and coral beads, and traveled with an entourage of servants and bodyguards. But what set her apart was not just her riches, it was her ability to use wealth as a tool for power. She did not simply accumulate money, she invested it in people and influence. With her growing fortune, she became more than a merchant. She became an institution. And her power extended far beyond trade. Tinyabu's wealth gave her access to the highest circles of power. Unlike most women of her time, she was not just a trader, she was a political force. In Abeokuta, she advised the traditional rulers, ensuring that economic policies favored the local people rather than foreign merchants. She financed military campaigns, providing weapons and resources to Egba warriors who defended the town from external enemies. Even though she had been exiled from Lagos, her influence remained strong. Many of her former business allies in Lagos continued to seek her advice. Some rulers feared her, but most respected her. She had proven time and again that she was not just a woman of words, she was a woman of action. She also had a strong sense of justice. She punished those who tried to exploit the poor or cheat her in business. Some called her ruthless, but she believed in fairness. She rewarded loyalty and crushed betrayal without hesitation. Her name carried weight. Whenever Tinyabu spoke, people listened. But her impact extended beyond politics and trade. One of Tinyabu's greatest achievements was her role in empowering women, especially female traders. She understood the challenges that women faced in a male-dominated society, and she actively worked to change that. She established markets in major towns, ensuring that women had access to business opportunities. She gave loans to young female traders, teaching them how to negotiate and grow their businesses. Many women who started small under her mentorship later became successful merchants. She also played a key role in improving the market system in Abeokuta. She built structured marketplaces, introduced better trading practices, and ensured that goods were fairly priced. Her influence was so great that even men respected her authority in business affairs. Through her leadership, she changed the perception of women in commerce. She proved that a woman could not only participate in trade but also dominate it. Many called her Iyalode, a title given to the most powerful and influential woman in a Yoruba community. It was a fitting name. She was the mother of commerce, the queen of trade, and a role model for generations to come. But her ambitions did not stop there. Tinyabu's influence was not just in business and politics, she was also a protector of her people. During her time in Abeokuta, the town faced multiple threats from external forces, particularly the Dahomey warriors. The Dahomey kingdom was known for its fierce female warriors and aggressive expansion tactics. They often raided nearby towns, capturing people and selling them into slavery. Tinyabu was not one to sit back and watch. She used her wealth to equip Egba warriors with weapons, ensuring that they could defend their land. She also played a crucial role in organizing strategic defenses, advising the war generals on how to counter Dahomey's attacks. Her efforts paid off. When the Dahomey warriors attempted to invade Abeokuta, they were met with fierce resistance. Thanks to Tinyabu's support, the Egba successfully repelled the attack, securing their town. This victory further solidified her status as a leader. She was not just a wealthy merchant, she was a protector of her people, a woman who fought for her land and her people's freedom. But even in times of war, Tinyabu never abandoned her business empire. By the peak of her career, Madame Tinyabu was not only one of the wealthiest individuals in Yorubaland, but also one of the most respected. She had built an empire from scratch, proving that intelligence, strategy, and resilience could elevate a person, regardless of gender. Her legacy was visible in the many markets she established, the trade networks she built, and the countless traders she mentored. The women she empowered carried her teachings forward, shaping future generations of successful female entrepreneurs. Politically, she remained an influential figure until her last days. She continued to advise rulers, influence trade policies, and play a role in the affairs of Abeokuta and Lagos. Even the British, who once saw her as a threat, could not deny her impact. She had lived a life of power, wealth, and fearless determination. And even after she was gone, her name would never be forgotten. As Tinyabu grew older, her influence remained strong. Unlike many who lost power with age, she only became wiser, making even better decisions. She had reached a point where she no longer had to fight for recognition. Her name alone commanded respect. Leaders from different parts of Yorubaland sought her advice, traders wished to learn from her, and young women looked up to her as a role model. Even in her later years, she continued expanding her wealth. She invested in more farmlands, strengthened trade routes, and ensured that her businesses ran smoothly. She also trained trusted individuals to manage her empire, making sure that her legacy would last beyond her lifetime. People often asked, how did a woman rise to such power in a society dominated by men? The answer was simple. Tinyabu had vision, courage, and the wisdom to turn obstacles into opportunities. She was not just rich in money, she was rich in knowledge, experience, and leadership. But despite all her success, she never forgot where she came from. She continued to give back to society, ensuring that others could rise as she did. Her journey was a testament that wealth alone is not enough. True power comes from how you use it. Though Tinyabu had built a life of success, even the strongest leaders faced challenges. She had made many enemies in her lifetime, those who envied her power, feared her influence, or wished to take her place. Some colonial officials still saw her as a threat because of her resistance to European dominance. Some local rulers resented her authority and tried to weaken her power. There were also betrayals from people she had once trusted. But Tinyabu had survived worse. She had been exiled, lost allies, and faced fierce competition before, but she always came back stronger. One of her greatest challenges came when British colonial rule expanded, reducing the influence of local rulers. The Europeans no longer wanted powerful African traders controlling commerce. They wanted full control. Tinyabu, however, did not bow to them. She refused to let her businesses be overtaken and fought against unfair trade policies. Even in old age, she remained defiant, standing up for her people. Though the colonial rulers made trade more difficult, Tinyabu had already built her fortune. She had already secured her legacy. No matter what challenges came her way, she had already won. Madame Tinyabu was not just a businesswoman, she was a leader. Her name became a symbol of wealth, resilience, and power in Yoruba land. She proved that a woman could not only survive in a man's world but thrive in it. She showed that business was not just about making money, it was about strategy, influence, and impact. Her contributions to society were immeasurable. She helped expand the economy of Abeokuta and Lagos through trade. She empowered countless women, giving them opportunities to succeed. She defended her people from invaders and colonial oppression, and lastly helped shape the political structure of Yorubaland. Her wealth was not just in her possessions but in the knowledge she left behind. By the time she reached old age, she no longer needed to prove herself. She had already written her name in history. She was not just rich, she was unforgettable. As Tinyabu approached the end of her life, she remained active in the affairs of Abeokuta. She continued to advise leaders, mentor traders, and protect her businesses. Her wealth remained intact, and she lived comfortably, surrounded by those who respected and admired her. When she finally passed away in 1887, the entire Yoruba nation mourned. She was given a grand burial, one fit for a queen. Her name echoed through the lands, her legacy forever etched in the hearts of the people. Even after her death, the markets she built continued to flourish. The traders she trained continued to grow in wealth. The lessons she taught about business and leadership remained valuable for generations to come. Madame Tinyabu was not just a historical figure. She was a force of nature, a woman who took control of her destiny and refused to be limited by society's expectations. Her death was not the end. It was the beginning of a legacy that would never die. The story of Madame EFUNROYE Tinyabu is filled with powerful lessons that remain relevant today. Tinyabu never let fear stop her from taking risks and seizing opportunities. She used her riches to empower others, influence society, and protect her people, and proved that gender is not a barrier to success. Even when exiled from Lagos, she built an empire in Abeokuta and returned even stronger. She succeeded not just because of money, but because of intelligence and smart decision-making. Tinyabu's story teaches us that true success is not just about what we gain but what we build, contribute, and leave behind. Today, her name still stands tall in Yoruba history. The famous Tinyabu Square in Lagos remains a reminder of her influence, ensuring that future generations will always remember the woman who shaped commerce, politics, and leadership in Nigeria. Madame Tinyabu was not just a trader. She was a ruler, a warrior, and a legend. Her name will never be forgotten in the history of Yorubaland, Nigeria.